Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about a few different topics, but I will be updating you on my journey and when you'll see the next videos. The 4-month video didn't go live. There was a glitch with my YouTube. So that'll be coming out on Tuesday, and this video will be out on Friday. So this comes out Friday, and then the following Tuesday, you will have your 4-month video, which is a month behind. The 5-month video will be probably 5 to 7 days after that. Depending on how the views are, I might wait till the following Monday to post the 5-month video. I do want to spread out a little bit, and then I'll catch up the 6-month video like 2 weeks after that, okay? But this video is going to be talking about minoxidil, oral minoxidil specifically, and I will do a minoxidil like topical versus oral in the future, but today we're going to do a baseline without anything too crazy. The reality is my hair is looking pretty good. I'm not going to show the full thing, but I mean, you could tell, obviously back here is still the weak point, but the front is looking pretty good. Especially if like you had this combed up and shit, it would cover it all up real nice. But what does minoxidil do? How many people does it work for? Does it work for me? In the past, it did work for me, and I got pretty good results, guys. It wasn't anything good enough for me not to get a hair transplant. But minoxidil will do a few different things, okay? So if you've never taken minoxidil, the topical is a great option, and you can go ahead and most people know it as Rogaine, all right? But the problem is Rogaine's kind of expensive, and it's just a brand name, whereas minoxidil is the active ingredient, okay? And some people like to go 8%, 10%. They get crazy with the percentages. They think it's better. 5% has been the most clinically studied, and with all drugs, guys, going stronger isn't always better. It does a few things. One, it increases the side effects drastically, which is why the 5% was chosen for men and lower, 2% for women, I think it is. It's because side effects can cause lightheadedness, especially if it gets in your bloodstream. Like if you have an open wound and you get minoxidil in there, you could have really bad like lightheadedness, like all sorts of fogginess. You could have heart palpitations. But those are extremely rare from what I understand with this. I will tell you that I did have side effects my first week, but I figured out what caused them. And it was partially minoxidil's fault, but I'm going to explain that, guys. I also think I figured out why I had like really bad side effects for Finasteride. So that's going to be the video I'm filming. I'll give you a little sneak peek in this video of what happened to me and a teaser of what I think the issue and how to fix it is. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, with the minoxidil, let's go ahead and talk about the effectiveness. I'm being very ADD today, guys. The effectiveness, though, guys, there's a lot of studies, and I'll go more in depth in another video on this, but basically, no one knows the difference in oral versus topical, and some people say they affect the hair differently, and they're doing studies, but 50 to 85% of people get results using minoxidil, okay? So if you're wondering, oh, why didn't I get results? Maybe you're applying it wrong or doing it wrong, like maybe you're skipping days, or maybe you're one of those people it doesn't work for. But if you're doing regular minoxidil from like Kirkland, which you can get at obviously Costco, or you can get cheap 5% minoxidil that's from a good brand, for $5-10 a month, or get the pills prescribed by a doctor that are oral for $5 a month basically in script. And it's really cheap and it's worth doing because it'll save your donor hair from like expanding. Like the horseshoe won't expand as quickly or at all depending on the person, but you can either buy yourself time or hopefully stop it entirely. Obviously finasteride is the most effective proven way to do that because it stops DHT at the surface, or in the bloodstream it lowers it entirely depending if you're using topical or oral. But I'm not going to talk about finasteride this video. We'll do a comparison video later. The oral minoxidil is what I'm taking. I'm at month 1. It did cause shedding, and I had side effects. So the side effects, I felt really like, oof. I don't know how to explain it. I guess dizzy, but it was kind of worse than dizzy. I almost was confused. I was definitely lightheaded and dizzy, but it was almost like a confusion built in. It didn't feel good, okay? But I think I know why I had the side effect. So it is a side effect of minoxidil, but I think it was because I also take Adderall. So I'm prescribed Adderall for work, and basically if you take a upper that raises your heart rate plus caffeine, which I take every day, and then you take minoxidil, I think those three things together are a bad combo, and it's not probably recommended. So what I ended up doing and what solved the problem for me, and it was very obvious to me that that was like causing a massive issue because I took them all at once. Like I literally was drinking an energy drink when I took the Adderall and the minoxidil together, and like 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, I was like, oh man, help. So don't do that. That's the lesson here. This channel's got a lot of lessons on what not to do. So hopefully this helps you guys learning from my mistakes. But what you can do is take it at night. So what I do is I take the minoxidil at night. Obviously it stays in your system, but it has a half-life. So I'm assuming what ends up happening is if you take it at night after, the Adderall's worn off, maybe before bed, which is what I do, then when you wake up in the morning, the minoxidil isn't having as high a risk of side effects because it's not as strongly in your system anymore. So then when you go about taking your other medication or your other supplements or even caffeine, you will not risk side effects as much or at all. So hopefully that piece of advice helps you guys. And I also have a sneak peek for that finasteride we were talking about. I'm going to get to that in 1 second. But I'm hoping, let's pray, if I even get half the regrowth that I got using minoxidil topically as before, my hair could look pretty good, guys. Like even though this hair transplant should give me decent thickness in the midground and it will give me really light thickness in the crown because we didn't transplant a ton of grafts. But it's just still, it'll make this super thick, this medium thick, and then this like, thin, but more hair than I have, which is almost zero. So anything's better than that. And basically what we're doing with this surgery is building up so we can see for the last surgery what we can add to perfect the areas we want to perfect, if it's possible to perfect the areas, or maybe we got to use beard or chest hair, that kind of stuff. I don't have a ton of chest hair. I do have chest hair, but it's not like, I'm not like completely, you can see my skin everywhere in my chest. So that's basically the reality. I know some guys that are just a carpet. Those guys could probably do their whole head with just chest hair. It wouldn't look natural, but you could cover really dense. But neither here nor there. As far as efficacy goes, I had results with topical, so I think I'll have some results with minoxidil. It has been 2 years, so obviously more of my hair has gone dormant or dead. Hopefully we can still get some of the dormant to wake up. But again, the main thing for me is trying to stop any extra hair loss from my horseshoe ring and strengthen it. And then, strengthen all the hair throughout the entire head, because people don't talk about this, but minoxidil will actually thicken hair in the front too. There are studies, obviously you can look these up, guys, and I'll do a really informational video one day if you stick around. But it'll basically help everywhere in the head. It's just most efficiently helps in the crown. And whereas Finasteride helps very efficiently everywhere in the head. Okay, so that's kind of the scenario. There is going to be some benefits to the entire scalp of hair, so I'm looking forward to that. Now there are other risks with minoxidil, which could be like discoloring or texture changes. Typically, the texture change would probably be thickness or coarseness, so that's not necessarily the worst case scenario for a guy. But again, when you start to up your percentage really high, like to 8, 10, 12%, the people that do that kind of crazy stuff where they get the really, what you're doing is you're drying your skin out. That's the biggest risk. That's like almost immediate when it's topical, is you're going to just, it's alcohol based for majority of it. And so it's going to just completely just dry it out, which is not ideal for scalp health. Okay. So I always tell people, start at minoxidil 5%. If you get the results you want, why go from there? Some people are like, oh, he's more is better. No, that's not what you want to do. Especially because you don't know what as you get older, like what if you're prescribed a heart or cholesterol medication later on that you have to take, right? And if you had been on, a low dose of minoxidil that was efficiently holding your hair or helping, then you don't have side effects. But then if you're on a higher dose, let's say you have side effects that are bad, that could be, scary. And then you have to stop taking minoxidil and you lose your hair, or a lot of the hair that was holding, right? So I always like to say, who can get the most results with the least amount of cost and the least amount of effort. And so, yeah, We'll be going over that further in future videos. Hopefully for this video is helpful. The sneak peek for the Finasteride, guys, is that I think I figured out why I had nut pain, because that was actually why I can't take Finasteride, why I never took it for more than like 2 weeks. Because a weekend I started having nut pain that got drastically worse. Felt like I was being just like punched or kicked in the balls every day, constantly. And I was curling up in a ball for longer and longer throughout the day. Like at one point I curled up for like 3 hours, I think it was, where I was just unimaginable, like just gut-wrenching pain. Felt like someone was twisting my intestines. Highly don't recommend. It's not fun, okay? So I know that sounds like, oh, you're exaggerating. Like, I don't even wish that on my worst enemy. That was miserable and definitely not a side effect that'd be worth keeping here. But I think I know why it was so bad. And I can kind of give you guys everyone always talks about microdosing, which I think would be a great idea for everyone. They should start microdosing when they do Finasteride, no matter what, to avoid side effects and to slowly lower the DHT in their blood, okay? And you can microdose, where you do like a quarter of a pill every other day or every 2 days, 3 days, whatever you want, right? And there's videos, I'll make a video on that too, but there's other videos out there about this. And people go to like taking a quarter pill every day or a half pill every other day, and then eventually all the way till they get to a pill. And you just slow roll it, guys, because very little Finasteride will start to give you DHT lowering benefits, okay? So you don't need to rush into it. And yes, a lot of people can just take the regular, pill they're given and have no side effects. But if you want to really lower your risk of having any, then it's just smart to do, microdosing to build your body's, tolerance, and also to allow for your body to get used to how it's affecting your DHT and testosterone over time, okay? So it's not a drastic drop off a cliff on your DHT. So what I ran into, though, is if you take Adderall and Finasteride both have erectile dysfunction side effects. Crazy, I know. So anyone who's ever taken Adderall, if you're prescribed it or not, you'll notice that there's a thing called Addy-D. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say the word because I don't want my channel being blocked or whatever for talking about this kind of stuff. But basically, Adderall pulls blood from hands, extremities, and it brings it to your brain, which makes you way more focused and way more capable. But you get colder hands, you get a little shriveled up as if it was cold outside. You feel me? And basically, you still can go ahead and perform at night, right? You can still perform. That's not the issue. The issue is just the blood flow is different. So your blood flow is like, it squeezes blood flow in veins, actually. That I don't know how Adderall does that, but it actually redirects blood flow. So you have less blood flow there. You still get the blood flow and it'll still get up. It's just not going to be 100%. You might be 90, right? Good enough. It'll work fine. You won't even be very noticeable, if at all. But that also changes the constriction of the muscles down there. So basically, my theory, this is not scientific, but from my experience, guys, you can sometimes, if you're on Adderall for long periods of time, like when I'm taking like 2 doses a day, okay, and I'm working for 12, 18-hour days, and I'm on it for extended periods of time, I do start to get minor nut discomfort, okay? And I'd never really noticed it until I noticed it. Like, until I was like, wait a minute, I have been having this side effect. So like, I didn't even notice it, that I've had this side effect several times over the course of years. Because you always are like, oh, I just don't feel right. You know what I mean? It's like your lower groin just feels off, right? And it's not even your nut really. It's like really like low internal groin. It's really weird. So basically what I'm trying to say, guys, is what we've kind of concluded this is, my buddy and I, because he also had that side effect. And when I mentioned to him, he's like, yeah, I get that sometimes when I'm like doing long work shifts and I take it twice a day for, extended periods of time. You can get that side effect. If you go off it for a couple days or, lower your dose and just do it once a day, that side effect goes away. So I think what is happening is the muscle that shoots, come out, basically it's not contracting fully because of the ED issue. Even though you're fully good to go and it's working, you're not pumping it all out as strong as you would. And then some of that gets trapped in the tube there and basically what ends up happening is that builds up in there and that causes that discomfort. Now, when you do two different medications, Adderall and then Finasteride has nut pain as a side effect too. And I'm guessing it's for similar reasons, guys. They have no idea why. Like every doctor I've talked to has no clue why you get nut pain. It's like, it goes away. It's an adjustment period. But I'm thinking it's an ED thing, okay? And I think that most guys that experience it stop taking Finasteride like I did, and they're like, screw that, not worth it. But I'm guessing because I did the two together, two things that cause ED, even though I still had the ability to get up, good to go still, I guarantee that it was compounding the effect where I wasn't pushing all of it out and it was building up in that tube. And over the course of that week, every time I had, relations or myself, whatever, I wasn't all clearing the system. So it was blocking up more and more a little bit. And that's why that pain got so bad. And then and then I basically was curling up in a ball, unable to do anything. And I was unhappy and not feeling good and I quit it. And then it went away over the course of a few days. Well, I'll bet you anything it cleared the system. You know what I mean? So reality is I have two theories. One, maybe if you take it at different times of day like I do with the Minoxidil, maybe you can get away with it. I'm a little too scared to try it, guys, to be honest. I think I would probably try topical Finasteride now that I figured this out. See if I have no side effects. If I do have no side effects, then maybe, just maybe, I try the microdosing the pills again and doing them at a different time of day. You know what I mean? But again, like if I'm working really long shifts and I'm splitting when I'm taking the Adderall, you're going to run into the fact that you're going to have overlap on the side effects. So that might just be the issue in general, and I can't avoid. There is another thought I had on this, and it's kind of a crazy thought. I don't recommend any of this, guys. And always speak to your doctor. I got to say that. Please speak to your doctor about this stuff. But I just had this crazy thought. What if you were to take something like Cialis? Because like Viagra, we all know gets you rock hard. But Cialis makes the muscles and the blood flow there a little more consistent all the time when you take it. So again, this is ridiculous. But I'm wondering, and actually, you know what? Maybe I'll see if a doctor will give me some Cialis, and I'll just take it for a week. And like the next time I start to feel like ball pain, instead of like lowering the coming down a bit off when I take the Adderall twice a day, what I'll do is I'll actually try the Cialis with it and see if it immediately clears the fucking issue. Because yeah, if that fixes it, wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, definitely not. Oh my God. I'm going to be completely crucified for this. Guys, I'm not saying you should take multiple things. It's a terrible idea. But it would be an amazing thing if that would be like a scientific proof of what's really causing this nut pain that guys go through, whether they're on medication for, work or for hair. And, for the guys who are on both, who get really bad side effects like I did, if they're really that hardcore, really, really, really hardcore, like they really want to be on this, maybe the Cialis or Viagra mixed with the Finasteride would actually solve the nut pain. That's a crazy thought. I'm gonna research that, but that's my thought process. I logically makes sense to me. If the issue is congestion down the system below. Sorry, this whole conversation got sidetracked, guys. But if you guys have any feedback on any of this, or if this was helpful to you, or you were entertained in any such way, do me a favor, click the bell, subscribe, and make sure to stay tuned. We have the 4 and 5 month update to see the top of my head, and I know you guys are going to be excited. I'll see you then. Peace.